Continuing The Maid Who Mocked from King Arthur and His Knights by Elizabeth Lodor Merchant. Soon they heard loud shouts, and out from the wood ran a servant crying that robbers had attacked and bound his master, and that they were about to cast him into the lake. Sir Gareth turned to Lynette. "My duty," he said, "is to go to the aid of this knight, but I am still more bound to protect you." Lynette smiled contemptuously. "You had better return to Arthur's kitchen. You'd be safer there," she retorted. At this, Sir Gareth spurred his horse and rode at breakneck speed into the wood. Here he found 6 powerful robbers, dragging a knight, bound with a large stone tied about his neck, toward the lake. Fiercely Sir Gareth attacked the robbers, and ere long had hurled 3 to the ground, senseless. The others at the sight fled in dismay. Then Sir Arthur quickly unbound the knight and untied the stone. Then said the rescued one, "Sir Knight, you saved my life. What return can I make to you?" "None," replied Sir Gareth. "I have saved your life because my king would have me do such deeds. I ask but one favor in return, that you grant this maid a night's lodging." "That will I gladly do," replied the knight, "for I truly believe you to be one of the knights of the Round Table." At this Lynette laughed aloud and mockingly said that her companion was indeed in a manner of the Round Table, being a dishwasher in the king's kitchen. Soon they beheld before them a stately battlemented castle, and when they entered found a great feast prepared. With gracious dignity the knight seated Lynette and Sir Gareth at the table of honor. Whereupon, with a great show of indignation, Lynette sprang to her feet and cried that she was being insulted, that Sir Gareth had forced his companionship upon her, and that she would not sit to eat beside a mere kitchen boy. Their host was greatly puzzled by her words, but declaring that, kitchen boy or knight, Sir Gareth had saved his life, he placed Sir Gareth at a lower table, and, leaving Lynette alone in her grandeur, seated himself beside his rescuer. On the morrow, Lynette and Sir Gareth thanked their host for his hospitality, and took their leave. Again Sir Gareth told Lynette to lead, and he would follow, at which she said that she would fly from him no more, but that if he valued his life, he would return to Arthur's court, for near by there was one who would surely slay him. Her words had no effect on Sir Gareth, and, as they rode along, she constantly mocking, he ever silent, they came presently to a great forbidding forest, through which coursed a tortuous, steep-banked river. Spanning the river was a single narrow bridge, and beyond, on a grassy slope, stood a joyous golden silk tent, glinting in the brilliant sunlight. Above the tent a crimson flag fluttered in the summer breeze, and before it, unarmed, a knight paced proudly backward and forward. As Lynette and Sir Gareth approached, the knight eyed them haughtily. "Maiden," she shouted, pointing to Sir Gareth, "is this the champion that you have brought from Arthur's court to compel us to let you pass?" "Oh, no, no, Sir Morningstar," replied Lynette. "The king so scorns your prowess that he has sent but a mere kitchen boy. Indeed, he is no knight." Then Sir Morningstar called commandingly, "Arm me," and at his words, from the tent ran 3 fair girls, dressed in robes of red and gold, whose bare feet twinkled in the dewy grass. Probably young women. Swiftly these maidens decked Sir Morningstar in armor, blue as midsummer sky, and brought to him a blue shield, upon which was engraved a silvery morning star. For a few minutes Sir Gareth stood silently gazing at Sir Morningstar, all the while Lynette cruelly taunting him. "Why do you stand there, staring and shaking with fear?" She mocked. "There is no time for you to flee, before the knight has yet mounted his horse." "Maiden," replied Sir Gareth, "I'd rather 100 times fight than have you abuse me and call me that which I am not. At this he turned his horse and sped headlong for the narrow bridge toward which Sir Morning Star was racing from the other side. So terrific was the force with which they met that both were hurried from their horses and lay for a moment stunned. Quickly they rose and continued the battle on foot, fighting so fiercely with their swords that Sir Gareth's shield was sliced from edge to edge. An instant later, with a mighty stroke, Sir Gareth drove his enemy to the ground, crying, "I yield!" Sir Morning Star begged Sir Gareth to spare his life. "That I will do," replied Sir Gareth, "on the condition that this maiden pleads for you. Indeed, will I ask no favor of you, kitchen boy," said Lynette haughtily. "Then shall he die," declared Sir Gareth, striding towards Sir Morning Star. "Do not dare, base kitchen knave, to kill one so far your superior," cried Lynette, horror-stricken. "I am proud to obey your command, maiden," replied Sir Gareth, bowing to her. "Sir Knight, arise and go to Arthur's court, and say that this kitchen boy has sent you, and forget not to beg his pardon for breaking his laws. Your shield I claim in place of that which you have destroyed." Then, turning to Lynette, he said, "Lead, and I follow." Presently, as they rode along, Lynette said, half shyly, "It seemed to me, kitchen boy, that as I watched you fighting on yon bridge, the odor of kitchen grease seemed to fade. But I warn you again that you had better turn back, for close by there is the brother of Sir Morning Star, who will surely destroy you." Sir Gareth laughed. "When I washed dishes in the king's kitchen," he said, "a fellow servant owned a dog, which, when told to guard its master's coat, never ceased to guard it. You are like that coat, and I am the dog sent by Arthur to guard you." Cuchulainn, dog, Cullen, was the great hero before the Arthurian tales were written, but as I've said before, the Arthurian tales come from something else, don't they? In a few moments, they came to a bend of the river, which was shallow but very swift. Across the shallows, seated on a blood-red horse, and clothed in armor so burnished that it was blinding in the sunlight, they beheld Sir Morning Star's brother, Noonday Sun. Who are you that dares to trespass on my property?" he shouted to Sir Gareth. "He is a mere kitchen boy," said Lynette, "sent from Arthur's court, who, by good chance, has defeated your brother, and is even now bearing his shield." When he had heard her words, Sir Noonday Sun, with a great shout, dashed into the torrent, where Sir Gareth met him halfway. There was small opportunity for skilful use of arms, but for the space of an hour the two fought, swords ringing loudly against helmet and shield, until for an instant Sir Gareth feared that he had met his master. By a rare stroke of fortune, however, at this crisis Sir Noonday Sun's horse missed his footing and stumbled, and together knight and horse fell with a great splash into the angry stream. Unwilling to see Noonday Sun drown, Sir Gareth put forth his greatest effort, and after a severe struggle with the whirling currents, laid his enemy's bruised body upon the river-bank. "Go you to King Arthur," he said, "and say that his kitchen boy has sent you." Then again to Lynette he said, "Lead, and I follow." With naught but a saucy turn of her lip, Lynette pointed. There across another bridge stood the third brother, Evening Star, clad only in his naked skin, which shone like a burnished copper. "Why does this madman stand there naked?" said Sir Gareth. "He is not naked," replied Lynette, "but is clad in toughened skins, so that even though you cut his armor from him, these skins would turn the edge of your sword." At this point, Evening Star shouted, "O brother Star," for he had seen his brother's shield on Sir Gareth's arm, "have you well slain the maiden's champion?" "He is no brother of yours," cried Lynette, "but a star from Arthur's court, who has bested your two brothers, and will do the like to you." Then Evening Star blew a great blast on his horn, and to him from a dingy, weather-stained tent came a withered hag, bearing ancient rusty armor and a shield on which was a half-tarnished, half-bright Evening Star. No sooner was Sir Evening Star so armed and mounted on his decrepit steed than Sir Gareth charged, and together the two met, and fought with the greatest ferocity until Sir Gareth hurled Evening Star to the ground. Time and again this happened, but always Evening Star was on his feet again in a moment, until, as his breath began to fail him, Sir Gareth was overcome with the feeling of despair. But as his heart began to fail him, he heard Lynette crying in a very different tone from her former mocking one, "Well done, kitchen boy knight! O kitchen boy, brave as any knight, strike and strike hard, for you are indeed worthy of the Round Table." Thus aroused to greater efforts, Sir Gareth hewed with his sword great pieces from Evening Star's armor, but he could make no impression on the hardened skin underneath. At length, though, with one fearful stroke, he severed the other knight's sword at the hilt, and felt that victory was his. Then, against all rules of knighthood, Evening Star threw his great arms around him, and so crushed him, even through his armor, that Sir Gareth could scarcely draw a breath. "Yes, because a knight must not hug anyone." With one final, mighty, despairing effort, Sir Gareth gathered his remaining strength and hurled Sir Evening Star over to the side of the bridge, and staggering towards Lynette, left him to sink or swim. When he had arrived, exhausted, at the maid's side, he said once more, "Lead, and I follow." Lynette blushed a rosy red, and with downcast eyes replied, "No longer shall I lead. Henceforth you, the kingliest of all kitchen boys, shall ride by my side." See, she still can't stop with that. "Sir, and truly, I am inclined to add, knight, I am deeply ashamed that I have so mocked and abused you. I ask your pardon, for you have ever treated me with courtesy, and furthermore, you are as brave and meek as any of great King Arthur's knights. I am consumed with curiosity to know what name you bear." "Maiden," replied Sir Gareth, "you were not entirely to blame, though you should have trusted Arthur, and should have known that he would send with you none but one he believed to be worthy. You have had your gibes. I have replied with deeds. Truly your gibes fought for me. And now that you have spoken such fair words, there rides no knight, not even the great Lancelot, who could best me. But look, who is this who approaches?" Sir Lancelot it was, who had paused to carry the wounded Sir Kay back to the court, and so delayed, had but now overtaken them. That he might not be known, he had covered the blue lions that decked his shield. When Sir Gareth turned and Sir Lancelot saw the star gleaming on his shield, he cried, "Ah, felon knight, now shall I avenge my friend." In reply, Sir Gareth put spurs to his steed, but, as he charged upon Sir Lancelot, the great knight, with a dexterous thrust of his spear, sent Sir Gareth sliding gently from his horse. As he touched the ground, Sir Gareth laughed aloud. His laughter infuriated the watching Lynette. "How can you laugh," she cried, "when you have been so shamefully overthrown? Why do you laugh? Because of your recent vain boast?" "I laugh, noble maiden," Gareth replied, that I, the son of a king, and but now victor of the bridge and the shallows, should lie here, thrown by an unknown knight. Then, joyful at hearing his voice, and finding him still alive, Sir Launcelot dismounted and grasped Sir Gareth's hand. "Is it indeed you, Launcelot, who have overthrown me?" said Sir Gareth. Then need I not be ashamed." At this, going over to where Lynette still stood pouting, Sir Launcelot told her the true story of Sir Gareth, whereupon she clapped her hands and cried, "I am truly merry to find that my kitchen boy is a knight, and of noble birth. So, marry him already. But I have sworn to the black felon who guards my sister that I would bring you Sir Launcelot to lay him low. Now, if you go, he will first fight you, and my knight, my one-time kitchen boy, will miss the full glory of the high and well-deserved adventure." "It is possible," replied Sir Launcelot, "that this felon may know my shield. Therefore let Gareth change his for mine, and take my charger." "How like Launcelot?" said Lynette, courteous in this matter, as in all. Eagerly, Sir Gareth seized Sir Launcelot's shield and mounted his charger, and silently they crossed a broad, peaceful meadow. A shooting star coursed over the heavens. "See," cried Sir Gareth, "there falls the foe." And then a moment later, as out of the silence came the shrill hoot of an owl. "'Tis the felon pleading for mercy." Suddenly Lynette clung in terror to his shield. "Return, I beg you," she cried, "this shield to Launcelot. He it is must fight. I could bite off the tongue that has so mocked and abused you. You have done wonders, marvelous deeds, but even you cannot perform miracles." "Be that as it may, maiden," said Sir Gareth, "I will still defeat this last felon, or die in the attempt." And so on they rode, while gradually the stars disappeared one by one as thunder clouds gathered overhead. Suddenly Lynette cried, "There!" Then all grew silent again, for before them lay the castle perilous. Nearby they saw, on a flat field, a huge tent shaped like a mountain peak, and all black as midnight, except for a red border that ran around it. Beside the tent hung a long black horn, which before the others could stop him, Sir Gareth seized and blew with all his might. Immediately they heard loud tramping within the castle, and lights began to flicker here and there, and high above them, looking very beautiful among the trembling lights, stood the Lady Leonors, surrounded by her maids. As her glance fell upon Sir Gareth, she waved her white hand. Again Sir Gareth seized the horn and blew lustily upon it. At the sound, from out the huge tent came a monster in night-black armor, mounted on a coal-black horse, and on the armor was the figure of a skeleton, with a skull on the helmet in place of a plume. The monster halted before Sir Gareth, but said not a word. At this moment Sir Launcelot's charger, upon which Sir Gareth was mounted, neighed, at which sound Knight's black war-horse bounded at full speed towards him. At the first shock, Knight was thrown heavily to the ground. Slowly he rose. With difficulty, his heavy sword. With a mighty stroke, Sir Gareth split the skull atop his helmet, and with a mightier split in twain the helmet. Then there appeared not the head of death, but the face of a handsome boy, who cried, "Spare me! My 3 brothers made me do this, believing that none would dare to fight such a terrifying figure. Now indeed was Lynette proud of her kitchen boy knight. Then sprung the happier day from underground, and Lady Leonore's and her house, with dance and revel and song, made merry over death, as being after all their foolish fears and horrors only proven a blooming boy. So large mirth lived, and Greth won the quest. And some people nicen up when the time comes like that, but don't expect it. Oh, I'll just prove myself and they'll be nice. No, not everybody's going to do that.